Well, I've been working at the Florida Times Union for 33 years now. To be honest with you, I'm really surprised they are as bad as they are on defense. That's the one. I mean, right now they are on a pace to set the all-time NFL record for most points given up in a season.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And that, given all the free agency acquisitions, given head coach Gus Bradley's emphasis on the defensive side of the ball, you expected them to at least be somewhat respectable, but they are as dreadful as they were last year, at least to this point in time. No, not really, because they haven't been as hurt with injuries on the defensive side of the ball as they have on offense. Offense has been much more impacted with Mercedes Lewis and guys in the receiver core being in and out, whether it's Cecil Shorts or Marquise Lee or Allen Robinson. They've all had little injury bugs here and there. Austin Pastor at right tackle. No, I don't. You can't use injuries as an excuse on the defensive side of the ball. It's a little bit of an alibi on the offense, but defensive side of the ball, there's no excuse for them being as dreadful as they are. I mean, I advocated in a column after the Indianapolis massacre. Excuse me, after the Washington Redskins game. After the Redskins game, that it was time to get Blake Bortles and to go ahead and start him. They waited another week, but obviously the Henne's first half performance against the Indianapolis Colts, left Gus Bradley with no other choice. Look, Chad Henne is not only a big quarterback, he's a very athletic and mobile quarterback. He can extend plays outside of the pocket, and that is going to give the Jaguars a better chance for their offense to look functional. Now, does he have enough talent around him? Certainly not. And clearly there's some health issues. I mean, not having Mercedes Lewis heavily impacts how Jed Fish, the offensive coordinator, can call plays. But if the Jaguars can just, if all the other rookies around, look, he's playing with 4 or 5 other rookies in that starting lineup. If those guys can grow along with him, then the Jaguars have got a chance next year and the year after to evolve into a playoff contending team. But he's going to need help around him, just like most quarterbacks do. No elite quarterback in the NFL rides it alone, okay? As great as Peyton Manning is, as great as Tom Brady is, and we saw an example of that the other night. If you don't have the weapons around you and you don't have the offensive line protection, it's going to be a problem no matter who you are. But at least in Bortles' case, he has the athleticism to make up for deficiencies.
What do you think it's actually going to take for next year to actually be the next year we've been waiting for?
Well, you need your draft picks to pan out. That's the number one thing. If you cannot become a really good team in this league, I don't think anymore, without your high draft picks panning out. Right. And the Jaguars have not had a history of that.
They finished strong last year. You think this team can maybe turn it around for the rest of the season? Maybe swing 6-10?
I think 6-10 is going to be a lot to ask at this point, because basically you're asking them to go 500 the rest of the season. Now, one thing that does help, the schedule does get a little easier. The hardest part of the Jaguars' schedule was September and November. October and December, it eases up a little bit. One of the reasons the Jaguars were able to win 4 games in the last half of last year wasn't just because they had this dramatic improvement. It was because the schedule got a lot easier. That's the thing that everybody forgets. The Jaguars lost their last 3 games last year. They won 4 of their next 5 after they started 0-8, and then they lost their last 3. But a lot of that was a function of the schedule, and I think the same thing will happen this year. As the schedule eases up, which it does in October and does again in December, I think you'll see the Jaguars pull out some games, maybe win about 4 games, maybe 5. 6, I think, would be a lot at this point, particularly with the defense being in the place that it's at right now.
Right. So you said 4, 5, 6 wins. I mean, we're still talking a high draft pick with that. So you were talking earlier, you said draft picks. I mean, that's what we need to do. We need to cultivate some really good draft picks. So say the Jaguars get a top 4 or 5 pick. Is there anybody you see in college game right now that you think would be just an ideal get for the Jags?
No, it's way too early right now to kind of gauge. What the Jaguars have so many needs. I'm a big believer in take the best player available. Now, obviously, are you going to take a quarterback? Obviously not. But a pass rusher, a cornerback, a receiver, a safety, a linebacker. They need all those things. So go ahead and take the best available player amongst that grouping, whoever that turns out to be. And right now it's way too early to say who that's going to be. But they have got to start getting impact players, and not just in the first round. They got to start relying. All these Super Bowl teams. You can look at their roster and you can find a fourth, fifth rounder who's making a high impact on the team. Well, where are the Jaguars' fourth and fifth rounders? Where are those guys making an impact? So that's what has to happen. If you don't draft better, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.